Hello and welcome back to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm Ken Crocker here with Rudy Briksza. How you doing, Rudy?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm here to talk to you about dragons.
Yes.
All of the dragons.
I love me some dragons. I love 11 of them.
11 whole dragons. But unlike what we saw at the Pro Tour, we're not going Esper dragons here. We're not going blue-black. We're not going green-red. We're going Grixis.
Yeah, we are going Grixis.
So we got blue, red, black.
Yep.
Why don't we start with a Dragon Lord and we'll work our way there. So we got one Dragon Lord, Kolaghan. Kolaghan?
Yes. So Dragon.
What's he here for?
So Dragon Lord Kolaghan. Part of the reason I'm playing red is because Thunderbreak Reach is obviously very good, but we're moving into black and blue because we want counter spells and Crux of Fate and Silumgar and Kolaghan. So Dragon Lord Kolaghan is great because it's just a 6/5 haster, so it kills things like Elspeth, Nissa, Sorin. It just comes out and it hits really hard, much harder than Stormbreath Dragon does. Plus, a lot of people are starting to pick up on Devotion decks and Whip decks, and the ability with him is your opponent loses 10 life whenever they cast something that's already in the yard. So with the Whip deck, with Wayfinder, where they're filling up their yard, or Devotion, where their deck is just, every card is the same.
Sure.
It just has a lot of upside to it.
Well, with all the removal you have that we'll get to in a minute, it's going to be more than likely that they're going to have a card in the graveyard that they're going to want to cast.
Right.
Okay. So then we also have the other Kolaghan, the Storm's Fury. Now this one's interesting because this one seems, it's got the dash ability, and we're pretty much a control deck.
Right.
So what is this guy doing for you in this deck?
So I started out with Stormbreath Dragon, and Stormbreath Dragon is great at blocking Ojutai, it's great at dealing 4 damage, it's great at blocking Siege Rhino, and its monstrous ability is very, very good.
Stormbreath Dragon is a very good card.
Yes, but Kolaghan puts away the game within a turn or two. So, for example, if you were to play a turn 4 Thunderbreak and follow it up with a dash Kolaghan, you get to 12 your opponent.
Wow.
If you play a Thunderbreak Reach, if you play any 2 dragons into dash Kolaghan's a Storm Fury, you 20 or 21 your opponent.
So you're just looking at one shot, put them away.
Right, we had the ability to one shot, put them away with Kolaghan, but it also has a really big body where everybody is having X4s, he's a 4/5.
Sure.
So he's able to break serve with Thunderbreak Regents and Stormbreath Dragon, so it has a really good body to block very efficiently with.
So you've already mentioned the 4 of Thunderbreak Regent, and we got 2 Solemnguard, the Drifting Death.
Right.
And then we got 2 Icefall Regents for all the dragons you have main deck.
Right.
And then we have a Solemnguard, the Dragon Lord Solemnguard off in the sideboard.
Yep.
And then it wouldn't be a control deck without Planeswalkers, so we got a Ugin to, up the dragon count. And 2 Ashiok. So Ashiok seems a little out of place here because you have all these big spells, and then we got an Ashiok on 3. So what's he there for?
Ashiok is just very good against green decks in general because they don't really have too many ways to interact with it outside of attacking it. So it comes down very early, comes down on 3, and then can push you up very far ahead very quickly. I played against Green Devotion, and I got to play it against an empty board and put Polukranos into play the next turn and leave my Ashiok at 1. And that's obviously just great in the green, like any kind of mirror where you just get to put pressure on them immediately while keeping control. Ugin is just a great catch-all.
Sure, Ugin's just amazing, especially with all the other dragons you have.
Right, but in this kind of deck where we have just a ton of removal and powerful dragons, Ashiok, we can defend very well, plus put pressure. I think one of the weaknesses of the Dragons deck in general, or the reason I decided not to play Jeskai Dragons, I was considering playing Jeskai Dragons in Syracuse a couple weeks ago, but I ended up not doing it because I just didn't feel like my control matchup was very good, and I felt like my whip matchup was going to be a struggle as well.
So with control coming out of the Pro Tour, you didn't want to end up playing that kind of deck. You decided to play this one, which it has a control variant of itself. So we'll talk about the control cards, and then we'll get to the Dragons Matter cards. So you have your 2 Crux of Fate and 2 Anger of the Gods, so you seem to split on your mass removal there. But then you have a bunch of interesting 1-ofs. So we got a 1 of Murderous Cut, a 1 of Ultimate Price, a 1 of Negate, a 1 of Twin Bolt, and a 1 of Crater's Claws. So how did you get to not only these cards, but those numbers as well?
So we have actually a decent amount of scry in the deck. We have 10 scry lands, plus we have a decent amount of draw with Dig Through Time, and we just have a lot of time with a lot of our decks.
You got a lot of Dig Through Time.
We got a lot of Dig Through Times. So what we really wanted was certain cards to help deal with problematic creatures. So Murderous Cut and Ultimate Price are just very, very good at getting rid of just permanents that you're having trouble with.
Sure.
So like Murder's Cut's great against Sidisi and Siege Rhino and Atarka, and Ultimate Price is great against Thunderbreak and Storm Breath and Courser. It's just things that you want to do to keep your opponent off balance, things you can do to get to, you know, making a Crux of Fate very good. Ultimate Price is very good against Whisperwood Elemental, which I was having trouble with.
Sure.
Twin Bolt, so Twin Bolt started off as Wild Slash. But against Mono Red, Twin Bolt is just significantly better because it lets you split up damage against their Dragon Fodder or their Hordeling Outburst, but it still has the ability to kill Zergo or Swift Spear or Goblin Rabblemaster. Now, Crater's Claw is an interesting one. So we came to Crater's Claw during testing with Jeskai Dragons. Because during testing with Jeskai Dragons, the deck suffered really hard against Stormbreath Dragon because there is no good answer to it besides trying to counter it.
Yeah.
So without a real good way to kill it in Jeskai Dragons, I came to Crater's Claws. So Crater's Claws ended up being this great powerful spell that was a great removal spell. You could cast it early if you needed to. You could cast it mid-game, and if you needed to, if you ever got far ahead with Kolaghan, you just killed them.
Yeah. So it's part of the Fireball plan to kill them quickly, which some of the control decks in this format have a problem with.
Right.
Or it's a nice removal spell, so it's there for the versatility.
Yep.
Okay. And then finally, we're calling this Grixis Dragons not just because there's 11 dragons, but we also have 10 Dragon Matter cards. So they're the cards that were just newly released in Dragons of Tarkir that say something, if you reveal or have a dragon in play, they're an additional effect. So we already know about the 4 Solomgar Score and how good they are. We saw that at the Pro Tour, we've seen that before. We also saw how good Draconic War was with
the green-red deck.
With CVM winning over in Syracuse. So we have 3 Foul Tongue Invocations and 1 Dragon Lord Prerogative. So what are these cards? I mean, you're obviously going into red for some removal, but now we have these black and blue cards as well. So how are these Dragon Matters cards helpful?
Right, so like, again, for example, when I was testing Jeskai Dragons, big problem with stuff like Fleecemane Lion, which is very hard to deal with, and Foul Tongue Invocation gives you also life gain, which is very important. Something I kind of took from the Esper control decks. Foul Tongue Invocation lets you gain a lot of life against stuff like Mono Red or Jeskai while keeping them off balance or keeping them off their feet. If they just play a Manus Rider and you Foul Tongue them and gain them 4 life, they're just pretty far behind because a lot of Jeskai players like to sit back on a Manus Rider or 2 and use that to try and ride to advantage while keeping up burn spells.
Well, fair enough. It sounds like you're trying to win the Dragon War with blue, red, black, and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks for signing us in from the sideboard, Rudy.
Thanks, buddy.
Stay tuned for more standard action here at the Providence Open.